Talking with Meathead about the stall. Just the stall, not the method, just the stall. 20 till the hour. Meathead, thanks for letting me talk about my fine sponsor, the Barbecue Guru. We were talking about evaporative cooling.
Yeah, and actually, the Guru is an interesting part of this discussion because that's going to be Dr. Blonder's next piece in collaboration with me. We set out to answer the question, when you're looking, are you cooking? It's an old shibboleth that when you lift the lid, you set back the cooking time about 15 minutes.
Right.
So we've tried to answer that question on gas, charcoal, and pellet grills. Just how does opening up the hood affect things? And I won't give it all away because I haven't finished writing it up yet.
Oh, geez.
But
you owe me after screwing me last week. Reveal to the people what you found out.
No, we'll talk about it later. I haven't finished digesting all of his data.
All right.
I mean, if you look at my write-up and then click the link to his website, you'll see why I interpret him. But I'll say this. The thermostat-controlled pellet grill recovered much faster than any other cooker because it's got a thermostat. And that's the effect of the Guru and the other thermostat controls. Okay, so back, and I dug up my notes here. The 2 pieces of pork butt, one cooked in foil, one cooked out of the foil. The one cooked out of the foil took 14 hours. The one cooked in the foil done at 8 hours. Now, it was pretty much cooked all in foil. Well, now, competition cooks have been cooking in foil for years.
Sure.
They know that it tenderizes, but it also powers them through the stall. It either eliminates or reduces the stall. Now, most of them don't wrap until a higher temp. A lot of them, I understand now, wrap when they like the color that they see, not by temp.
That's right.
But often it's around 170. There's a number of things that go on inside the wrapping. There is a small amount of steam, but not a lot. One of the interesting things he discovered when he did the wrap is as he unwrapped it, the temperature bottomed because immediately the moisture starts evaporating and the temperature rocketed down.
Yeah.
So some people will unwrap it and put it back on the cooker in order to firm up the bark.
Yes.
And what's happening is they're dropping the temperature of the meat. I don't know what – I haven't judged in a while. I don't know what judges are looking for in the way of bark. But my friend Sterling Ball, who competes out on the West Coast, was telling me that he thinks judges feel that if the bark is too hard and crunchy, they believe the meat's overcooked. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know what judges are looking for. But wrapping in foil seems to soften the bark significantly. But it does retain a lot of moisture, and you do get some moisture pooling in the foil, which can be added back to the meat when you put together your presentation box or serve it at the dinner table. As long as your rub is not too salty, you can add those drippings back. And of course, a lot of folks put moisture in the foil, like a couple ounces of apple juice or beer or wine or whatever. But if you go to AmazingRibs.com and look that article up, you can see his experimental data, his charts, his research, and it's pretty undeniable. It's pretty hard to debate his data. You mentioned last week that there was debate over on the Barbecue Brethren. There was a physics student who lacks the 80 patents that Dr. Blonder has, who put forth the theory that it had something to do with the mass of the cooker, and that was a false theory, and we shot it down, but it created some debate. There is no real debate here that I can think of. It's pretty black and white. The stall is due to moisture evaporating. The meat is sweating. And when you wrap it in foil, it's just as if you were going out to cut the lawn wearing a raincoat.
But it's not steaming in there? Is that what you're saying?
There is some steam. It's not a huge amount, though, because there's the temperature isn't high enough. There's not a lot of liquid. That issue is addressed in his data also on my website. It's really interesting, and it's not enough steam that it will penetrate the meat and tenderize. A lot of us thought that I say us because I thought this too. The steam was the tenderizer effect, that it was steaming into the meat and somehow or other tendering it, because steam penetrates more than hot air, and so. We thought that was part of the problem. But
so how is the texture being changed in the foil then? I mean, if I am wearing a tinfoil suit and I go out and jog, I'm going to sweat a lot more than if I don't. Isn't that steaming?
Yeah, it is a little bit, but not a lot. It is changing the texture mostly of the bark, and
So why? I mean, why does it do it there and not without?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
So why does the meat look different when it's coming out of the foil than if it's just left in the cooker? If there's not that much steaming going on?
Well, because it's 100% humidity in there. That foil is a metal jacket, and so the humidity inside there is 100%. And of course, that's part of the issue as to why there's not a lot of steam, because when it's wrapped up and it's sealed up tight, you can't really get a lot of steam generated, and you get into the physics of steam now. But it's 100% humidity in there, and so it's changing the texture of the surface, so you're not going to get a real crunchy bark.
Right.
Now, I got to confess, I don't compete. And so I rarely, if ever, foil. Even my ribs. I mean, I'm a backyard cook. I've done it both ways. And I'm sure that some of your competitors can talk better than I can as to how the meat is changed by foiling and not foiling. But if you're working on a time schedule, the idea of foiling somewhere in the 150 to 160 range and powering through the stall gives you a real advantage in getting done on time.
Yeah.
And then if you want to firm up the crust, getting it out, putting it over a higher heat is an option. Or, just skip the foil altogether. I know a lot of people think aluminum foil is treachery, akin to using thermometers, but it works.
Well, I don't have any problem using foil, and I think everybody that I've ever talked to, aside from perhaps a very select few that I couldn't even possibly name if you had a gun to my head, would say that they don't foil at all. At least everybody is doing ribs and probably at least the bigger cuts of meat. Obviously not chicken for the most part. But that being said, I mean, I find that, and again, I've never competed. I have no aspirations in competing because I'm not that kind of a guy. I get my rocks off by my neighbors telling me how good my barbecue is, and that's good enough for me. That being said, I've done ribs without foiling. I've done pork butts without foiling and briskets. And there is a definite tactile difference on the outside of the meats, crispier or harder, however you want to term it as far as descriptors are. We could, go ad nauseum. And then I've also foiled all of those. Ribs, without a doubt, for me, for my palate, we all have individual palates, so whatever you think tastes and looks best is right for you. But I found that I turn out a more consistent end product on ribs when I foil. It might not be for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, and I don't know if I'm necessarily looking for a particular color like our friends on the competition circuit are, but there seems to be something that happens in the foil that makes it good for me and my family, and that's why I continue to do it. Pork butts I'm probably 50-50 on, except when I'm pulling it for parties, and especially for the people who have never had it. Because let's be honest, you've never seen a butt get pulled before. It looks a little weird. It's not what you're used to seeing that's coming out of those mass-produced containers. So everybody's not real eager to just start tearing off bits of bark like we would. I mean, that tastes great. So you put it in the foil, and it softens it up a little bit and makes it a little easier on the palate when you're consuming it. So I don't have a problem with foil at all, and I think a lot of people, they're probably lying when they say they probably don't use it as much as they do. I think it's a help.
Well, one of the things that goes on inside that foil is you're not getting as much evaporation as you do outside the foil. So you're not getting as much loss. I mean, if you cook without foil, you can have, a pretty large weight loss just to evaporation, which, of course, also drives home Blonder's point. You don't have that much loss. There is pooling of moisture. And in fact, one could argue that what's going on inside that foil as the moisture pools at the bottom is braising. So let me just ask this.
That was my next question.
If during a Kansas City barbecue society competition, you know where I'm going now, don't you?
I do.
My favorite topic, the definition of barbecue. Are we braising our pork and brisket and our chicken? Are we simmering it in fat, confit style, then searing it over high heat, grilling? Is there any barbecue left in barbecue competition?
No, there's not.
By my definition, it's all barbecue.
That's right.
It's all barbecue.
I mean,
by my definition, it's just different kinds of barbecue. And that's another topic. We've had that debate before. And if anybody wants to hear that theory expounded upon, I also attack it on my website.
Yeah, well, I think that we can both agree that, what's happening on the competition circuit, and I've said it might have been 2 or 3 visits ago, is some type of weird bastardization of what we have come to love as low and slow cookers in the process. I might make an argument that the people that do it in the backyard just like the process more. If you could get the same taste out of doing it in a microwave or in a crock pot and you never had to tell anybody, but it looked and felt the same, and we all know it wouldn't, that people would be more apt to doing that because the society that we're living in is, but we can hearken back, we can steal back some time and from some other era where you do it low and slow, and there's this whole process and mystique and majesty involved with it, and there's a romance involved with barbecue when you do it, I guess the old school way or the proper way, however you want to term it, which is why I like doing it, and I think it leads to the overall ambiance and enjoyment of the end product.
Well, I'm with you, and I'm torn because so much of the barbecue is that process, is that connecting with the Cro-Magnon man in me and huddling around the fire and cooking. But a huge part of it is, God, it tastes so good.
Right.
And I just want good food. So I love my Maverick ET73, or now I guess it's a newer model, my digital thermometer. I love the Barbecue Guru. I love Butcher Blend. And these things that they're turning in at competitions, what they're really doing, whether you call it barbecue or whatever, or braising or grilling or whatever, is they're cooking. And they're cooking good damn food.
Yeah.
It's really evolved, though, because of the money, because of the competition, because of our knowledge of food science, people like Blonder and others who are teaching us more and more about what's going on. It's evolved into advanced outdoor cooking, and I think you have to call it barbecue. It's all barbecue, but there is a lot of interesting stuff going on, and it does turn out god-awful good food.
That's right. He is Meathead Goldwyn, and he's running AmazingRibs.com. We have dispelled the stall, so fear not, my friends, and this is the way you can power right through it. Go to AmazingRibs.com to get more and read up on that great article. It's a great read, very high level, and we certainly appreciate that, and Meathead always appreciate the time. Can't wait to figure out what we'll be talking about next month.
Oh, I love coming on here, Greg. It's great fun.
All right, take care. There he is. Meathead.